please like our video and subscribe to RotoWire. Then go to rotowire.com/pod for a free 10-day trial.
We've been breaking down the divisions one by one the last couple of weeks, trying to accelerate our team previews by just comparing some select players from each team during the compare them versus ADP. And Fred and I are going to cover the AL East today. We're going to start off with the Baltimore Orioles. They are the Orioles. Quickly, Fred, don't look at that spreadsheet for a second. Keep your eyes off of that real quick.
Okay.
This is the Name 5 Orioles Pitchers Challenge. Wait, no, 4. I'm going to make you name 4 without looking. No peeking.
Okay. Name 4 Orioles pitchers. John Means, Tanner Scott, oh my gosh, Keegan Aiken.
Wow, good pull.
Thank you. And a 4th Orioles pitcher. Well, is Hunter Harvey count?
He counts. He's still not. He's not dead yet. I think I'll go for a walk.
Cole Sulser, briefly a closer last year. You'll notice I'm not really naming starters because they've become pretty irrelevant to me. Yeah.
Felix Hernandez, come on. Could have gone with him.
Is Felix Hernandez on the Orioles?
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately.
I'm not counting him as an Orioles pitcher until he makes the team.
Orioles great, Felix Hernandez. No, it's sad. Jorge Lopez, I would have accepted. Dean Kramer, I would have accepted. Now, I recently did projections for said pitchers, so Sean Armstrong was another one I just added a projection for. Might get some saves. He actually was actually good last year. Point is, their pitching is awful. It's tragic, except for John Means. Let's start with him. ADP at 211. Any interest in John Means?
Yep, I'm fine with John Means, actually, at his ADP. I think it's fine. I can't get too into John Means just because, the AL East is pretty good offensive division. They're by far the worst team. Well, I don't know. I think they're by far the worst team in the division. So I can't get that into him for that reason. I don't really love spending significant draft picks on pitchers who are on really bad teams. And not just bad, but really bad. Yeah. So I'm not really in. But I do think he's a fly ball pitcher. He keeps his whip down. And maybe the new baseball will help him. So I don't have – he's another guy. I don't have any Means so far. But I would be okay with having him on one or two teams. What about you?
I don't have the means to spend on Means, so I don't get him. No, I like him, but I hate the team context. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I mean, he had a .98 WHIP when he finally came back last year. I mean, he's really good. Yeah. Maybe I should look at him a little bit more, but man, the team's just going to drive him down. They might not be the worst team in baseball, but they might have the worst record because of when you adjust for context. If we had a 162 game series between the Pirates and the Orioles, I think the Orioles would end up over 500. But I think that they get to face the Yankees and the Rays and the loaded up Jays, and the Red Sox offense is scary. I mean, the pitching's terrible, but we'll get to that in a second too. But I can find some nuggets on the Red Sox. I can't it's Means and bust for him. That's really the only pitcher I look at all. I don't even bother with the closers.
No, I agree. I know some people have talked Tanner Scott as a possibility. He's a good reliever. He's a lefty. I just haven't heard anything from the Orioles on that. I'm out on the rest. I'm out on the rest of them. With Means, I feel like the cap too. So he won 12 games in 2019. I think that's the ceiling. I'll be impressed if he gets to 10. Last year, he made 10 starts, pitched decent, and went 2-4. I just think it's going to be hard for him, right? He was on basically a 6-win pace last year. I just can't. I know wins are fickle. Maybe he wins 15 games. I just don't see it. I think it's 10.
Yeah, I don't even think he gets.
It might be 9. Yeah.
It's just it's team context. Their offense might not be terrible, but it's risk. That's it.
Yeah.
Tanner Scott, he's okay. I mean, he could be all right. I think Sean Armstrong could be all right. Dylan Tate might have some upside in the long term. But Cesar Valdez, who knows? Hunter Harvey's not going to be back till June. He's got the worst type of oblique strain, so that takes him out of the closing picture for now. Maybe he gets it later, but we'll fab him then. We won't draft him. It's just not a point to it. There, maybe if you got an IL list, you can stash him. But I'll take him in the reserves, and then in AL Towers, take him as a reserve pick and stash him on IL. Fine, okay. You get an extra player. That's about all I'm going to do with them. Let's get to the more fun part, which is the hitting. More fun. Yeah, more fun's better than funner, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. You had the unique all Orioles outfield strategy last year in mixed labor, and it worked for you. Well, kind of worked for you. Anthony
Kind of
Santander did work.
Yep.
He's going about 150 now. Is that a fair price for him?
Yeah, I'll put him in the same category as Means. He's often when I have 0 shares. I think I have 0 shares when he gets drafted. We're at the point in the draft season where you've done some drafts like 6 weeks ago now, right? Where I'm like, I have 0 shares. I think I have 0 shares. But anyways, like I can't quite remember. But anyways, I find when he gets drafted, he's not the top guy on my list, but he's like in the top 10. I'm there on him. I think that price is fine.
Yeah.
I don't have any. I'm fine with him. I think he's a good hitter. He's going to play every day. This is a team that will score some runs. Like this won't be I don't think like a bottom 3 lineup or something like that. I think they'll score some runs. Yeah. So I mean, the park will help. So yeah, I'm fine with him. In fact, he might be my favorite Orioles hitter. At his, I'm gonna say second favorite. I'll get to my favorite in a minute. He's probably my second favorite at his ADP.
On one hand, there's good power. We'll see if the lack of juice ball hurts him because he doesn't have like a ton of history, but he did hit 20 homers in 2019, 11 last year. On the other hand, he's not going to hit. He's not a great average guy, and he doesn't run at all. He's had 2 career stolen bases. So I often like to try to get like 5 to 10 stolen bases from my later outfielders, and that try to find some of those guys like that. I'd rather have his teammate Austin Hayes
at the ADP. So you're pretty confident that Austin Hayes is going to play every day?
Yeah, I am. I think he's going to be the leadoff hitter.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident. Like I know, like him and Cedric Mullins are kind of battling for the center field job, and but they have no DH, and DJ Stewart could be the DH, but I don't really trust DJ Stewart. So I think that Hayes and Mullins could just kind of swap in and out between center field and DH, or one of them gets over to a corner and Trey Mancini's at DH sometimes. I'm sure he could use some days just after that long layoff and recovery for him. I think maybe he could use some DH days. So I agree. I think Hayes, if he stays healthy, could get to 500 at-bats this year.
Yeah. Favorite hitter for you, is it Mancini or is that Mountcastle then?
None of the above, and it's not actually exciting at all. I will say, if you look at now, everyone who's listening right now can't see this, but if you look at the sheet, I have found an NFBC error right now.
I see it too. I highlighted
Greg,
it, I think.
Yes, Greg and Tom need to get on this because I pasted that list in from their team sort. So they still have Renato Nunez marked as a Baltimore Oriole when he's actually a Detroit Tiger. I think he's even in Detroit now, with the Tigers finally in Florida.
I think he homered today. I think I saw a
there
tweet
you go,
about
because
that.
he was late arriving to camp. Anyways, I like a lot of these guys. I like Freddy Galvis late, just as an accumulator. But again, there's a lot of middle infielders that I like late. We talked about Nick Ahmed last week. I basically see Freddy Galvis as the same as Nick Ahmed. He's a guy, he's going to play every day for the Orioles. He's not an on-base guy, but in most leagues that doesn't matter. I honestly, I think Nick Ahmed's a great comparison. He'll probably steal a half dozen bases. He'll probably hit 15 home runs if he gets to play every day all season. He's just an everyday guy. I'm finding him getting drafted in the 15s, but not the 12s. I get that.
Yeah.
In the 12s, he'll be an on and off waivers guy. Oh, I need a middle infielder this week. Oh, I got an injury. I'll grab Galvis. In the 15s, he might stick on a roster, but he's the kind of guy, if he's gets off to a slow start, he'll get dropped. But I like him. I like him, and I don't have him on all my teams because there's like Ahmed, and there's a few other guys who I kind of all like in those last 5 rounds. Miguel Rojas is another one. Andrelton Simmons. I think all those guys are useful.
But in a way, because there's so many of them, I don't draft them because I can just pick one up off the waiver wire.
See, I think the tier once we hit the waiver wire is worse. So like I'm finding
those are waiver wires in a 12-teamer.
In a 12, exactly. So in a 12, I'm not super interested. The one advantage Galvis holds over all the other guys I mentioned is that he's second and short eligible. So that makes him kind of like a nicer bench guy, maybe than those other guys, unless you really believe like Miguel.
Please like our video and subscribe to RotoWire. Then go to rotowire.com/pod for a free 10-day trial.
Yeah, I don't expect anyone listening to this to rush out and draft Freddy Galvis, after I said all those things. But I do think with second and short, I think he's not in 15s. I think he's a pretty solid bench player, who I would like to have maybe on a lot of my teams at the start of the year.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else on Baltimore before we move on to greener pastures? Severino?
Not really. I don't mind Severino's fine at his ADP. I think he's in a lump with a bunch of other catchers who have similar ADPs. I'm fine with Severino as my second catcher. Like if I didn't really get one. Mountcastle's interesting to me. I'm kind of out on Mountcastle. I was a little in earlier in draft season. I don't know if I got him anywhere, but not great plate discipline, and I'm not sure. I think there'll be some bumps in the road still for him, but I do get why he's going where he's going because I know there's a pretty good ceiling with him.
Okay. When does Adley Rushman get the call?
Later this like maybe this summer. What do you think? Chance Sisco's done, right?
Time till late summer. I think he's one of those guys. By the way, Chance Sisco never really got a chance.
No, not really, because they kept keeping Severino around.
Yep. I think Sisco's actually pretty good. I'd like to see him get a greater opportunity.
So that may play in with Rushman. Like if Sisco's hitting well, maybe Rushman stays down all season, and maybe they just like if Sisco's hitting well, maybe they say, well, we're going to keep splitting this role here, and let's see what Sisco can do, because he was the catcher of the future at one point.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the Boston Red Sox. Terrible pitching, pretty fun offense. Maybe not so terrible pitching this year. I mean, maybe I'm being overly simplistic. Let's go through it here. Xander Bogaerts, third round. He's been dealing with some stuff injury-wise. That's been pushing him down. His ADP is 33, but I'm seeing him go like late 30s, early 40s now.
I'm fine with him late 30s, early 40s. I was never in for 33, and I like Xander Bogaerts. I had him on multiple teams last year. I just feel like, I kind of like him like more mid to late third than on that 2-3 turn in a 15. But yeah, I like Xander Bogaerts, and I'm not going to quibble. You only get one third round pick if you want it. If you're picking third in the third round, you want him. That's fine. I probably want a little more steals if I'm going to take a middle infielder in the third round.
Yeah, and that's why he's slipping, because I think we're all feeling the pressure on stolen bases. Rob Silver's article on the RotoWire magazine about this. If you're taking two starters and all the steals are front loaded, something's got to give. I mean, the non-stolen base guys get pushed down. Period.
Yeah, I can also say on steals, I listened to you and Scott yesterday, and I won't get off topic for long, but you guys were talking about NFBC and 125 steals. Like in a mono league, like you can just, or in a regular league, you can just decide to not do great in steals. But you're aiming for 125 steals. Well, when you take your catchers out, let's say you only get 5 steals from your catchers. That would be great to get 5 steals from your catchers. So you're left with 120, and you got 12 guys to get them from. And there's a pretty good chance your first baseman doesn't get you very many steals. So now you got 11 guys, you need about 115. Like you basically need about 11 steals per player. 10 or 11 steals per player who isn't a catcher or a first baseman. You know that's the average. You're going to have a George Springer or something like that. So
that's
jamming up your
shortstop. It's not average. It's 80th percentile.
Yeah. No, for sure. But I'm assuming that's kind of what you're aiming for in those big contests.
That's true.
So with Bogaerts, you're jamming out like the places where you're going to want to get more than those 11 steals per player. Middle infield's probably one of them. And with Bogaerts kind of jams that up on you a little bit. Corey Seager, same thing in the third round.
Yeah.
Even more so.
Except Corey Seager's just killing the ball right now too.
Great player, but he's not going to get you steals, and he is going to use your shortstop spot or your middle infield spot. So you just have to plan,
and then you
got to plan around it. That's right. Trey Turner solves all the problems. That's the conclusion of today's podcast.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Rafael Devers, similar price, similar profile. Doesn't run a ton. Runs a little bit for a third baseman, more than your average third baseman.
Yeah.
But when I was talking about Santander not running, well, guess what? Where are you getting your stolen bases from? Outfielders and middle infielders. You're not getting them first, third, or catcher, for the most part. There's exceptions to the rule, but maybe that's one of the reasons why Devers goes where he does, because he actually gets you. He's a non-zero there, and that's helpful.
Yeah, I think I've come around, even as much as we're all trying to get steals, and I was kind of on that really early in draft season, but I've come around. I think you can get one guy, even without the god of Trey Turner. I think you can get one guy in those first 4 or 5 rounds who you're just getting them for the bat, like you did with Abreu, like you did with Springer. I think Devers, Bregman, Rendon, those guys all kind of fall in the third, early fourth, and you're drafting them for the bat. And I think that's totally fine with Devers.
I'll have to say, my weak point, my blind spot has always been stolen bases. My ranking algorithm. I mean, it's like saves. I mean, you need them. They're really not worth it, but you need them anyhow. And so you have to overpay for them by definition. That's the way I like it. Maybe that means I'm setting the wrong weights on my SGPs, but I don't think so. I think it's also this. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and just get that floor, get that base of him, and just deal with it there.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep rolling on these guys. JD Martinez, all the excuses. Dog ate my homework, no video, wasn't prepared, sunspots, something like that. The moon was in the wrong quadrant. I don't know, whatever reason. He was issuing a lot of reasons. Here's one of my favorite turns of phrase. Martinez admitted that the lack of video was wrong. No, he asserted the lack of video. I mean, it's not admitted. He asserted. Admitted means he's like forced to. Oh yeah, you got me. I guess it was a lack of video. No, it was just bad. I mean, but are you getting on the bounce back with him this year?
Yeah, totally. I'm good with him. He gets in that UT discussion of do you want to jam up your utility spot, and like his ADP, you're looking like round 7 or so. Do you want to jam up your utility spot in round 7? It's the old Nelson Cruz discussion. So, but I'm fine with him. He's not a target for me. Again, there's no steals. He jams up my utility spot. He's coming off a crummy year, but if he's fallen to the point where he's the highest hitter left on my list, I'm good. Yeah, I'll take him. I have shares. I did not get him in LABR. See, they're all running into each other now.
I don't have him yet on any of my rosters. However, I'm not against taking a UT. I took Nelson Cruz last night. I'm contractually obligated to have at least one league with him, and I keep on getting sniped on him. Which of these UTs are most likely to roster? JD Martinez, Jordan Alvarez, Nelson Cruz, Giancarlo Stanton, or Franmil Reyes? You can account for the cost, and at least we're bringing in Reyes.
Probably Martinez. Yeah, I have Reyes on my LABR team, so I guess he's probably the next one on the list. But okay. I'd say probably Martinez. When we go back to steals too, if you don't have the god of Trey Turner, jamming up your utility spot with a guy who doesn't steal bases also takes away your opportunity to get an outfielder who might steal some bases, or a middle infielder who might steal some bases. So again, he has to all be kind of part of the plan. If I was low on steals, if I had already taken a Jose Abreu and a George Springer, for example, then I know you did take both of them, and Nelson Cruz, but I might be a little more.
I got a lot of slugs on my team.
There you go.
And Moustakas.
Wow. Yeah, you might. So I might be a little.
I'm actually a little light in stolen bases, believe it or not. And you start Trey Turner and still be light in stolen bases. I got Turner, Kyle Tucker, Will Myers will run some, Semien will run some. Nick Senzel became a priority target. Talking with Scott on Sunday made me realize, okay, he's a priority for me at this point.
Yeah.
I have to have somebody I like that runs a little bit late, and that was it. That was him. But I don't have a ton of stolen base guys. That is a problem. I don't. If Turner gets hurt, I'm going to be chasing them. There's no doubt about it. But anyhow, this is not about my draft. It's about the AL East.
Yeah.
Having good times all at the same time here. Let's keep rolling on the Red Sox. If you do you get Christian Vasquez on as part of your comprehensive 2-catcher strategy?
Yep, he's part of it. He's one of the guys. Like, there's a lot of them around that point in the draft, right?
Yep.
Contreras is around there. Grandal's around there. He's one of them. So I'm fine with him.
Yep.
I'm fine with those other guys I just mentioned. But I think totally a fair ADP for him.
Yeah. All right, we haven't mentioned a pitcher yet. Let's start mentioning some of the pitchers, because I think there's some interesting guys here. At least the starting pitching. I don't like the relievers at all, but we'll cover them in a second. Nathan Eovaldi keeps throwing like 100 miles an hour. I had his good moments last year after getting a little bit of a late start last season. I'm fine with him at his price, at $221.
Yeah, he hasn't been on my radar yet. Really. Eovaldi's always thrown hard. So, I mean, maybe he can throw even harder, but he's always been a hard thrower. His career whip's 136. That and the injuries are just pushing him down in my projections, and then keeping him. I would rather take John Means, and they have basically the same ADP. I think.
I'll take Eovaldi.
There you go. So that's
last night. That's fact.
So I think part of it's me in the injury concern, because he's certainly backed by a better lineup than John Means is.
Yeah, that's for sure. Erod, I have no idea. Zero clue what he's going to do this year. No clue whatsoever.
Yep.
If he gets him at the lower end of his range, if he goes lower than his average is 232, but if you get him around 300, I'm all in. Well, not all in, but I'll take him. But I just don't know. When I don't know, I don't take him.
Yeah, I haven't been in on him yet either. I think I felt like he was being overdrafted last year. Like he was coming off this like all of a sudden 200 inning season where everything broke right, and he not only threw 200 innings but he got 19 wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like he was being overdrafted last year, and now this year I don't know if he's being overdrafted, but there's just so much we don't know about how he's going to perform. And he's another guy, I mentioned he Evaldi's whip. Like in that great season, he had a 133 whip, so he's hurting your whip in that great season. So yeah, I haven't been in on him at that point either. I'm a pretty big whip guy, and so we just named 2 in a row that are career whips of 130 or higher. So I'm tending to not probably grab those guys around pick 200.
Best Devo song that's not Whip It, since you're a whip guy.
I don't think I know any Devo songs other than Whip It.
All right, a girl you want is what
there you
the
go.
answer there. So
there you go.
All right, let's move on real quick here. A couple other Red Sox I want to mention real quick. Franchy Cordero is not going to be ready for opening day. There was after the trade, there was like, ooh, Franchy in Fenway, and now he's not going to be ready. So he's a reserve pick for me now because he's never on the field. He's never healthy. And I know it's COVID this time, but still.
He's probably waiver wire for me. So, but I get it. People love it. Like there's a skill set there. It's diverse. I get it. But he's probably the one question I wanted to ask you on the Red Sox is who's the closer?
I was just going to ask you that, Fred. No fair. I'm not drafting Matt Burns anywhere close to where he goes in drafts. Not close.
No.
He's 217. I think Ottavino might get as many saves as him, and he's 150 picks later. I'm open to Ottavino at the cost, probably in most instances. So yeah, what I was doing last night, just speculating late. This is a perfect example of a great chance to speculate because I don't think Barnes is any good. I think he walks too many guys, and I think in a full season that gets revealed. And yeah, he got those saves late and probably did help people win some leagues, but I don't see the staying power there. I'm not going to go for him.
No, and I mean, if we can't decide whether Barnes or Ottavino, if we feel like they're almost equally likely to be the closer, and one of them requires a pick about 10 rounds earlier than the other, then you might as well just take Ottavino. Or just avoid the situation, take someone from a different bullpen.
And I was just going to say, it's not like Atlanta where both Will Smith and Chris Martin are good pitchers.
That's right.
It's not even necessarily a good situation. The team, we don't know if this is going to be a good team with a lot of saves. Probably not. They have enough.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be like tragically bad. I don't think they're going to be a ton of save chances. All right. Before we move on and start talking Yankees, got to take a little another note of business here. Baseball has always been America's pastime, but a close second is horse racing, and we've got the best way to get in on the action. Stable Duel brings you a new way to play the races against your friends. Similar to what we only know in fantasy football and baseball, you select your team or stable of horses and compete against other stables for big money prizes. Watch your stable move up the leaderboard as your horses accumulate points based on where they finish the race. The app is free to download, and they offer free games so you can learn how to play at zero risk. Don't know anything about horse racing? Don't worry. The app has all you need to know with free data on each horse's record, as well as risk number, speed number, and value number for your best selections. This is the first game of its kind in horse racing, and you don't want to miss out. Download the Stable Duel app now and get in on the game. Play, race, win with Stable Duel. Fred, you ever gone to see the ponies?
I have not. There are a couple spots maybe half an hour from me where I could, but I have not. Have you?
I have. In fact, Santa Anita is right down the road from me. Beautiful racetrack. Secretariat was filmed there. The Breeders' Cup is often there, but the Santa Anita Derby is always like a month before the Kentucky Derby. That's like one of the big stage races. You know, if you win the Santa Anita Derby, you go to the Kentucky Derby usually, or if you're one of the favorites, maybe. It's a fun track, and it's beautiful. It's set against the mountains. It's a good way to spend a day. I know nothing at all, but sometimes you get stupid lucky. I don't really understand a whole lot about it and the ever shifting odds, and it's probably not a good bet. But I'm going there I'm that guy that's just there to have a fun time. So I just don't spend a lot of money. All right,
nothing wrong with that.
Nobody cares. Let's move on to the Yankees. What's there to be said about Garrett Cole? I mean, you're either going to take a pitcher in the first round, you're going to take him early, or you're not in Cole. So I don't think we need to belabor that point. How about DJ LeMahieu? Triple positions, first, second, third. Got to love both corner and middle. Goes at 36. I seem to remember him going in the second round in a lot of drafts early on.
Yep.
I think that I got him in Raz Slam, which in part because it's a best ball and multiple position guys are a lot more eligible there, are a lot more valuable there. I'm a little worried about him. Like, he's been like at peak performance the last 2 years. I was listening to Scott and Vlad when they did the Fade cast, and he was on both their lists.
Yeah, I could see that. I get that. I've been okay with him at his ADP. The triple position eligibility really helps, and it's 3 positions that I think if I was going to devise a 3 position eligible player this year to be first, third, and second, I just think those are positions where I'm more often struggling to find someone than shortstop or outfield. So,
Right.
so I really like that. I don't see. I think he can like just back his way into 100 runs scored, hitting atop that lineup. So I like that. Yeah, I'm fine with him at that point. And the fact that he doesn't steal bases matters, but not quite as much if you're going to end up counting him in one of your corner infield spots. So
Right.
yeah, I'm fine with him there. But again, you got to have a steals plan that now he's your guy you took who doesn't get any steals. If you want some early round steals without having to delve into the weaker hitters.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all right. Let's move on. I got lots of Yankees on my teams. I'm going to jump all the way down to Clint Frazier. I've got like a ranking of about 150 on him. I'm always getting him in the 9th and 10th rounds, 11th rounds. I've been trying to like train myself to wait a little bit more because his ADP is lower, but I think he's a bargain at ADP at 179. I think he's ensconced in the middle, near the middle of that lineup. I think he's in. I mean, I know Brett Gardner's there, and that's annoying. His little pebble in the shoe, but I think he's going to be someone that is going to really produce this year. I think he graduated last year.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't mind him at his ADP. I haven't been in on him yet. I think I'm a little lower than some others, but I have him projected to be like basically a full-time player. I don't think Brett Gardner cuts in much if he's playing well. Also, the Yankees have so many injury-prone players, right? Like Stanton and Judge, for example. Like there's a good chance Brett Gardner will be needed somewhere else. So I think Frazier plays. Yeah, I don't know. You said the middle of the lineup. I kind of felt like more like bottom middle, like 6th or 7th.
He batted 4th a lot last season, though.
Yeah, once I heard that Hicks was going to hit 3rd, like LeMahieu. Now I'm counting on my fingers. LeMahieu and Hicks and Judge and Stanton. There's 4 guys, and then Luke Voigt probably's got to hit in front of him. That's 5, and then I feel like Urshela and Gleyber Torres could both hit in front of him too. So I feel like he's maybe, if I was guessing, I'd guess maybe more around 7th or something like that, assuming Gary Sanchez is the anchor at the bottom. So, they might not want Gary Sanchez to be the anchor at the bottom. Maybe he hits 9th.
Yeah. Here. I'm just looking at recent spring training lineups.
Yeah.
He's batted 4th. He's been playing every other day. He's batted 4th 3 of those 4 times. Batted 8th 1 other time. However, and that's the big however. The time he batted 8th was more. I feel like was more representative of what you might see. It went LeMahieu, Judge, Hicks, Torres, Gio. Jay Bruce there instead of Voigt. Sanchez, Frazier 8th, Tauchman 9th. I mean, it wasn't a full-on lineup, but that's the scary one. But that's also the farthest away. That was back on March 9th. Yeah, I mean, it's tough because they've been splitting their lineups.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Like Mike Kurland, I'll give him a shout out, has done a great job, awesome. Right? With putting out everybody's spring training lineup. But when you go through them, as you're doing right now, you have to really look at it with the perspective of, like you said, like he's batting cleanup. Okay, well, who's not in the lineup? If half the team's not in the lineup, okay, it makes sense. He's hitting higher in the lineup. They want to get him at bats, and they're splitting lineups, so maybe they just have him higher to get some more plate appearances before they take him out of the game and things like that. I'm just looking at the names and thinking about where I could picture them based on their stature and reputations and stuff. And I feel like that puts him down near the bottom. But whatever, I still think if he plays full time, it's such a good lineup. It's one of the few lineups we're hitting at the bottom isn't the end of the world. And injuries sort this stuff out. He could start by hitting 8th at the beginning of the season, and by May they've got injuries and he's hitting 5th.
Right. I mean, nobody in the Yankees ever gets hurt, so you're fine.
Yeah, right. Here. Yes, which is why I avoid a lot of the ones that I just glossed over, like Judge and Stanton.
Well, I got Judge and Raz Slam. Best ball, it's the ideal format for him.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
But Stanton I have none of. I'm way after the ADP on him.
Yeah.
UT only, and I just don't have enough games for him. But man, he could also hit 50 homers, and I'll feel like an idiot. I won't be there at all for it, but we'll see. Aaron Hicks batting 3rd, and he's still going cheap. I love him batting 3rd because he's the only lefty. That's the reason why he's batting third. But yeah, I'm happy to take a few stabs at him, especially at his cost. He comes in. What is he at? 237, and I think I think I got him later last night. I'm gonna pull up where I got him, but no, I got him right about-ish there. I'm pulling that up. No, 224. Yeah, so I got a round earlier than that. I went back-to-back Yankees, actually. I went Hicks at 19.8, 224, and I followed up with a guy who's having a really good spring, and that's Domingo Hermond. Really good spring on the field, at least. Obviously, for other, he's coming off a suspension. He wasn't he wasn't the most. It was weird. He apologized to the Yankees first, then to his girlfriend. It was really kind of weird. But I don't. It's kind of clear some people don't want him on the team, but they kind of are just doing what they can on this. But I don't know about him. I mean, thing is, yeah, you could make a policy of not going after people with bad acts, and I wouldn't hold that against you. I just feel like there's plenty of people that we don't know that have done bad things too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm stammering around on this one here. It's a tough issue sometimes.
Well, and then there's the time fact. Like Aroldis Chapman is another bad act, right? Staying with the Yankees. So are you out on Chapman for the rest of his career? Do you kind of have a list, like a never again draft list of guys like Chapman? Once they do something like that, then you're just out forever. If you're not going to do that, you do whatever you're comfortable with. If you don't want to take Herman this year until you see him maybe make some retribution to society a little bit, and then that's fine. It's all your own personal preference. But I've kind of been you're either out on guys like Herman on Chapman for good, or once they're back playing, then you're back to being interested in drafting them. I mean, it doesn't benefit them in any way in their lives,
right,
or hurt them, whether you draft them on your fantasy team or not. So make your call and just go with it and enjoy playing fantasy baseball.
Here's the thing is, he's going to win a rotation spot. 13 Ks, 1 walk, 9 innings so far. Four shutout innings against the Phillies yesterday. He's going to beat out Davey Garcia for this shot.
100%.
And I always want to say Davey Cruz when I see Davey Garcia, by the way. It's just a bad hang-up I have. But he's going to win the job. So
yep.
I'm probably going to... I think he'll probably go up in cost eventually. In fact, I was well above ADP when I took him. So many other Yankees. Who do you want to focus on?
Oh, let's see now. The Yankees are so hyped that I find I actually don't draft many of them. I don't mind Urshela actually around his ADP's 165.
I agree.
I don't mind him there. I'm not a Tyone guy. I like Jordan. I don't mind Jordan Montgomery. Maybe I have one. Same. Montgomery. I'm not as much of a Tyone guy, but again, that's injury concern, and I'm not in on Kluber at pick 167. I firmly believe that if Corey Kluber had signed with the Cincinnati Reds, his ADP would be 80 picks later.
Yeah, probably.
I think that 167 is Yankee buzz. I thought that right from the day they signed him. I was and I get how good Corey Kluber was, but I mean, 2019, 7 starts, a 5.80 ERA. He threw 1 inning last year. He's going to be 35 shortly after opening day. I mean, he's fine, as a risk player, but I don't get pick 167 at all. That's your third starter, fourth maybe if you're really investing in starters, but probably more your third starter. I don't get that.
It's fourth, I would think, because that's round 12 and a 15 team.
Early round 12. So if you have 2 closers by then, if he's your 4th starter, then you pick 6 pitchers in your first 12 picks, which you can do for sure. So yeah, he's your
point
third or 4th
starter on this one.
Yeah,
I need him to be at pick 250, 300 before I take Kluber. Which means I'm getting him half past never. So
yeah, I mean, you look at guys like Eovaldi's quite comparable to Kluber probably right now, as far as risk reward, things like that, and and he's several rounds later. Like I said, I just feel like Kluber's gotten a big Yankees bump. So
yeah, I think so too. Okay, I like Montgomery. I mentioned that. And I think we've covered them enough. Of course, tweet at us if we missed a player you want us to talk about. I'm not going to take Severino. Someone else can wait it all out all year. That's fine. Would
you take Gary Sanchez?
I haven't yet.
I haven't either.
I'd take all the other catchers in that tier ahead of him, including James McCann,
Right.
which means I'm not going to get him. I don't want a 200 batting average on my roster if I can help it. I know there's 30 homers possibly, and then there are hills, but
There's also with Sanchez the possibility, like they get kind of sick of him. Like there's the possibility if we get another 200 or a 170 batting average that he doesn't play.
Yep.
So that's my concern with him as much as anything is I don't think the playing time's totally locked in with him. Like through
right.
a slump.
We saw it in the playoffs. I mean, it's
that's right.
All right, let's move on to the Rays. Okay, the Rays are the opposite. They are a super deep team.
Yeah.
20 players in the top 500. Fred, that's not good for us for fantasy, though, because they use all these guys. It's good for them, but it's like depth heavy. Most of these guys are going either undrafted or are end-game picks. They're of the 20 guys on this list, 11 of them are 300 or later. And Diego Castillo and Wander Franco are 293. Franco's, and he's slipping because he's already been sent to minor league camp. Point is, there's not too many like fantasy starters on the Rays, despite like a big accumulation of talent. It's kind of odd as far as that goes. Let's start off at the top, though, the good stuff. Tyler Glasnow, I haven't gotten once yet. I'm not against getting him, but he just doesn't go deep into games. And this could be the year. They need him more than ever, or they just do their Rays thing again too. And I think it's a big governor switch for me.
Yeah, well, I can settle the Glasnow one with you pretty easily because I think I know what you'll say to this. Tyler Glasnow or Lance Lynn?
Lynn.
Yeah, so then you're never drafting Glasnow basically because I find Glasnow's ADP's earlier.
Yeah,
and
it's not a snap call, but it's a call.
No, yeah, I get it. Glasnow or Corbin Burns?
Glasnow. Burns is never going deep into games either.
No,
I don't see why he gets credit for it in Glasnow. Any more than Glasnow.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the Rays might just keep doing what the Rays do, and why wouldn't the Rays keep doing? Why wouldn't the Rays keep doing what the Rays do? Yes, it works.
There was the high-profile thing in the playoffs, Game 6 against the Dodgers, and the Charlie Morton and the ALCS clincher. But by the way, they won, and it worked, and it's worked. It worked for them, and it worked for them managing Snell that way all year. I mean, why would they change?
They're not going to change what they do with their pitchers. You draft Glasnow knowing he's a 5, once in a while, sometimes a 6-inning pitcher, but sometimes a 5.
I'm never in on Nick Anderson at the cost because as great as he is, and this is covered territory for you and I, we need to get the saves. If we're going to spend a top 10, 11 round pick and a 15-teamer or top 12 round, 14 round pick on a reliever and a 12-teamer, I need saves. And I'm just getting half of them. Now, granted, this is a weird year. Maybe it's a better year to get them than other years. But I'm just, after last year especially, it was super frustrating early on. Like, I thought about benching him. He pitched like 2 innings in a week. And it's hard to manage with that. Yeah,
so his ADP is 143. I think that's too high. If it started to trend down towards 200, he is a really good pitcher, and I think he will get some saves for sure. Like, I don't think Nick Anderson gets shut out here. This is like the opposite of when we're talking about Matt Barnes and Ottavino, where one of them is supposed to become the closer. With Nick Anderson, I think it's very, very likely he gets 10 saves. I think it's very unlikely he gets 25. So, for his 15 saves or his 15 to 20 saves, I'd pay pick 190. I'd pay pick 180. I just wouldn't pay pick 143.
Right. I'd rather go like I've done in a couple of 12-teamers, just get Pete Fairbanks in one of the last couple of rounds.
Yeah.
Might still get the same number of saves. Not as good of a pitcher, without a doubt, but he's costing me nothing. I'll tell you a Ray I will get. I will get Austin Meadows. Pick 84. I think this is it. Last year's a complete write-off. He was the 3rd, 4th round player last year, and he had COVID, and he had a bad case of it, and he had the oblique injury. He had no training camp whatsoever. He was trying to get ramped up after the season started, and we didn't hear from him for a while once the season started. This is an easy, I think, bounce back candidate. I will get him all day at that price.
Yeah, I get that. I haven't. So actually, as we were going through the list, I have no shares of anyone on the Rays on any team yet. That's
Wow.
pretty wild
That is wild.
for one of the better teams in baseball. But it's just messing with. It's just me not wanting to mess with the ways that not just the pitching staff, but the way they manage their lineup and the platoons. And that can creep into Meadows a little bit. He's a left-handed bat who tends to be much better against right-handed pitching, as a lot of left-handed bats are. And I'm sure the Rays are smart enough to know that. Although his career OPS against lefties is 798, so it's not bad. But he's better against righties. Anyways, the only thing with Meadows is maybe a little bit of how did you view him coming into last year? Because he hadn't really done any, like the year before, and like he didn't do much in his debut season, 6 homers in 178 at bats, and then all of a sudden, poof, like 33 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
He steals a bit. It's just, I think it's whether you just believe in that power. If he's not a big base stealer, so
Right.
I think kind of capped at like 10-ish steals. So if you believe he's a 30 homer guy, then totally he makes sense there. And if you're not totally sold on the power and you think maybe he's more like a 20, 22, 24 homer guy, then I don't know if you want to buy in totally on the bounce back, but I get it. So he's one of the guys. He plays. Willie Adames plays. There are guys who do rise above the Rays platoons and do play.
Randy Arozarena plays.
He plays.
We talked like 5 Rays before we talked about Randy, and he's the most interesting one because of what happened in the playoffs last year. The rise at the yeah. God, I can't even talk today. The rapid rise, meteoric rise by him. What do you think?
Yeah, I how about this? I can make a pretty good argument after we just talked about this that maybe you should take Austin Meadows over Arozarena because you do have a lot of more sample size with Austin Meadows. That maybe yes, definitely at the cost. But it's just that you should take him over him. Period. But I don't want to take a Arozarena, but my numbers spit out that he's fine at his ADP. So I don't know if you've had a similar experience, but that's what I'm finding. Like I don't really want to take him, but my numbers say he does belong where he's going.
Yeah. Mine do too, and yet I haven't done it. It's kind of
same.
funny.
I haven't had, now he kind of goes, I find, at least in 15s, he kind of goes like late fourth, and I haven't had early picks. So maybe that'll still happen at some point in a later draft. But I haven't had, that's what I'm finding. I'm picking late often in drafts, not because I want to, but then I'm having early 4th round picks. I'm finding players I like better still there. Late 4th, when he gets near the top of my list, I don't have a pick there, and then he's gone long before I pick in the 5th. So.
I have 2 AL auctions on Saturday. There's Tout Wars and my original home league, Amaki. I'm gonna say in one of the 2, I think I'll walk away with him. We'll see if that.
Okay.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, it takes. There might be 3 people all in on him, and I might have to back down from that. But I'm interested enough to have one. I want to have him on one of my teams. I think he'll be a team fun sort of player. But anyways.
Yep.
Those are the main Rays. There's a lot of end game guys. Give me 1 or 2 you want to talk about, or don't, and we can move on. Your choice.
Yeah, well, I said I haven't drafted any of them, so I guess I can't be that excited. Any of these guys I'd want to draft. Fairbanks, you already mentioned. Diego Castillo is the same deal as Fairbanks. Diego Castillo can get 10 saves, but he probably won't get 20.
Or he could get 2. Yeah,
he's a little more costly than Fairbanks. See, I'm of the mindset that the way they share their bullpen, none of them are going to get 2. I think those like the guys in the late inning group will probably all get a few at least. But you're right, he could end up with 6 or something, which isn't really doing much. I don't like any of them. I guess that's why I don't draft any of them. I haven't even come close to drafting any of them. I'm not in on Chris Archer. I love the Rich Hill story, but I'm just done. I just don't believe he can stay healthy. And all these late guys like Yandy Diaz or Mike Brasso, no.
Good in real life, but not great for our purposes. I think too many platoons.
That's it. It's the platoons hold them back from reaching their full potential. So, and the platoons aren't changing. It's the same as the pitching staff. It's the same reason why I have Tyler Glass now at 155 innings. I can't put him at 170 because I just know how they manage their pitching staff. He would have to be so good. He could be, but he'd have to be so good to get to 170 or 180 innings.
Yeah. Okay, well, who cares about the Rays? We'll move on from that. Oh, totally. I mean the Jays, but who cares about that? I blew the joke. But you know what? We actually did cover the Jays.
We have covered the Jays in great detail at one point, yes.
But they are team fun.
but not with their
Since
ADP. Yeah.
since we covered him semi and sign, but we covered that. What have you heard on Kirby Yates? He's a tough guy to value right now. 124 means you have to pay a top 10 round pick in a 15 teamer and close to the 9th or 10th round in a lot of other leagues. I haven't gotten him yet, and I've found the news to be pretty sparse on him.
Yeah, they've been slow going with him. So there's no bad news on Yates. There's just no real good news yet. Like they've been slow going with him. They say he'll be fine. They say he'll be fine for opening day. I think he's their closer. If I drafted Yates, I would be very interested in Jordan Romano at his ADP of 361. So I'd really want to consider maybe him as I'm not a big handcuff your closers guy usually, especially if you draft a closer in the first 10 rounds, you should believe in him. But maybe with Yates, I might want to hold Romano for at least April, and you can use Romano. He's a good reliever. So he could get in your lineup sometimes, but there is no news on Yates. Like they're taking it really slow. They know they've only got to build him up to one inning. So, this is how they're going to play it. You're going to have to draft him this weekend. Probably not knowing
I don't have to do anything. You're not the boss of me.
If you're going to be in on him, in AL Tout, when Kirby Yates hits $10, if you want it, because I think he'll go for, I'm going to guess 11 or 12. When he hits $10, if you're going to click 11, you're going to click it with the information you have right now and probably no more than that.
Yeah. I think you're probably right about that. But let's see. I got to pull up my AL auction values.
I like the AL closers more than the NL, so I know that from getting ready for the NL.
I'd agree with that.
So there's more Yateses in the AL. You could grab Rosenthal or someone like that instead if you don't want to just
Presley over Yates.
Yeah, but they'll cost more, I think.
Oh, of course.
I think they'll give you Presley at $15 or Yates at 11, or 14 or 15, or Rosenthal at 14 or 15, or Yates at 11.
I need to figure, so that's where I got to map out my strategy.
Yeah.
Tell you, or I might just not. We'll see. It's not a good year to not spend on closers there, but I might do it anyhow. But we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Any other Jays that we haven't covered before that you would like to cover right now?
No, I will say that Alejandro Kirk is still doing everything he can to win to win a catcher job on the team and platoon with Danny Jansen. They have the decision to make because Reese McGuire, who isn't very good, is out of options. Do they let him go, or do they have the typical bad second catcher and put Kirk in the minors? If Kirk makes the team, he already has some of the best plate skills of any catcher in the major leagues. And he is a really, really good hitter.
And he's stupid cheap. 353 is his ADP, and if anything, it had spring training hasn't changed his price there. So ideal second catcher. Because he's good, and you got a super bargain, or he gets sent down. And there's that other door number 3 could happen where he plays and is bad, but I don't think that's likely to happen. I think I think that's the least likely of the outcomes. He can
hit. He if he's in the majors, he could have the highest average of any catcher. He won't have the most power, but he could have the highest average of any catcher. And I think if he's up, he plays in maybe not half the games, but probably close.
Yeah, I take Ryu, by the way, at his cost pretty readily, and no other Jays pitcher. Maybe Yates, I guess, but I'm probably not going to go Yates. No, I'm a never Robbie Ray guy. Nick Pierce with the groin injury puts me right out on him. Tanner Roark, ha ha ha. There's no other starters. We've covered this territory before. I won't. I will. I think that's what holds this team back from contending this year. But I think the pitching's just not there. I think they need to. I think they're a year away because of that. But they maybe needed Jake Odorizzi. I know that was a popular one in Toronto that. That would maybe be the last piece, just one more reliable starter. I like Ryu's skills, obviously. He's a great pitcher. I worry about the durability. I still do. I thought he was fading a little bit even at the end of the 2-month season. So for that reason, I've been a little reluctant. I find I'm not taking pitchers often to around that point. I often have a couple by then, so then I'm looking at other positions. So I'm pretty much a never Robbie Ray guy, although when he's picked 313, he does strike guys out. I guess I'm not a totally never Robbie Ray guy, but I'm pretty reluctant. The Jays seem to really like him. I don't know why, but they seem to really like him. I think the starts will be pretty short. Yeah.
But they'll come with 7 strikeouts in the starts.
Yeah.
So
a lot of walks, a lot of homers, a lot of strikeouts.
100%. But it's the batting order where you want to get the Jays. Randall Grechuk, I noticed you mentioned him once, I think, falling in your TGFBI. He seems to be falling everywhere. I couldn't believe his ADP.
Every league
his
I'm
ADPs,
in, he falls.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense because he doesn't really – he kind of has a platoon kind of with Rowdy Tellez right now but Tellez is the heavy side.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, they're paying Grechuk $10 million a year. I could see Grechuk starting – a couple games over Tellez a week against lefties, but then spelling Gurriel once a week against a righty. Maybe Springer needs days off. Like he can spell Springer once, and Grechuk can play center. He spells him once a week. He spells Teoscar once a week. Like I could see Grechuk getting his 5 starts a week in random ways. He's also one of those guys where if any of those players I just mentioned or Vlad Guerrero go on the IL, then Grechuk becomes an everyday player. So I think like at 287, that's his March ADP. I don't like him, but if he starts going into the like 320, 330, like if Randall Grechuk played every game, like played out every day through the season, he'd get 30 home runs. Like he is a powerful bat.
Right. And so that's what's so tough. 4 to 5, probably like 4 to 5 starts right now, and then you said, injuries occur, and he'll have weeks where he's in there all week. So.
And there's a lot of players who could, if they're injured. Like if I'm naming 5 starting players, well, I got to think more than half the season one of those 5 players is on the IL. That's typically the way this goes.
For sure.
So I could see him getting his 130 games in or something like that this year. So, but I think people are out on him because they just don't see that clear path on paper right now.
Right. I think that's fair. So he'll be week 2 pickup in a lot of leagues instead.
Maybe. Yep.
All right, that's going to wrap up today's podcast. We'll hit up the NL East next week as we finish up our series on that. Thanks for everybody for listening to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. As always, please subscribe. Give us feedback. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what we do right, what we do wrong. We're happy to hear from you. Please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. We'll be back at you again next Tuesday. Thanks for listening.